the thing in the US is that it's a price that's set by negotiation between pharma companies and insurers, pharmacy benefit managers, and payers. It's not dictated by the government. At least it wasn't until recently. Whereas in Europe and many other countries, you have a single payer, and that's the government, and they play hardball, so they can get lower prices because that's the way they operate. And there are many situations where in the UK, the National Institute for Clinical Excellence refuses to believe or accept that a drug has got is value added, so it's not even offered, even at the negotiated lower price. So that's the issue here, which means that as soon as innovation happens, it's out in the market in the US. The day that a product is approved, they can get on and sell it. Over in Europe, it could take a year, 2 years for a drug to come through. So, and maybe with this new executive order, sometimes the companies will go, well, I'd rather not launch in Europe.
So is it realistic to expect that drug prices in the U.S. will come down, could come down?
See, the thing is, Paul, I'm having a tough time balancing this out. If the intention is to get the rest of the world to pay more, which of course helps the pharma companies, then I don't see how that helps the U.S. drug prices come down, right? If they aren't able to increase prices in Europe, then the government in the US is saying, well, you should give us the same prices you're giving elsewhere. Then innovation disappears, because at the end of the day, if you cut your revenue by half, you won't have, you spend 15% of that on R&D, guess what? Your R&D falls. Simple maths. So how this plays out would be quite interesting to see. And of course, we have to also remember that there isn't a price in Europe. So we just checked the price of Wegovy in the UK at the effective dose, $230. Okay, in the US, Lilly Novo sells it for $499 to the direct to consumer. Okay, it's about twice as much. Okay, so let's say in Europe it goes up to $300 or in the UK. How does that change with the US number? And we don't even know whether the company actually gives that price, because then there's a little small print. We have been doing the NHS has done a commercial deal. So what is the price? How is the US government going to find that price? Unless they incorporate it into the trade agreements that they're doing, which is what should be happening here.
So what about the PBMs? So that was singled out, the pharmacy benefit managers, as sort of the middlemen between insurers and the government and the drug makers, et cetera. What role do they really have? And are they the ones most at risk?
I would say they are the ones most at risk. I would say they should have always been the ones most at risk, because I don't understand the reason they exist in the middle. I mean, that's I can show you a chart of how the U.S. payment system works, and it varies by insurer. You can go from one job to another, and the cost of your drug goes up, right? Because you have a different insurance, or from one state to another. So that just really is untenable. And it's nice to see that the government, the administration, is now talking about making it easier to sell directly to consumers. So let me give you an example. We have data on the terminal that gives you an ability to calculate what a drug revenue should have been in the past quarter. Volume times price, right? Then you go and see what they actually reported. Sometimes for insulins, for instance, is 80% lower. 80%. Now, the PBM say, oh, no, we pass that on back to Medicare Part D. Why do you even take it? Why do we need to pay an administrator in the middle here?